Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk, straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim Mcvay, and alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Know-It-Alls? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know Show. We are ready to go. Playoffs. We're talking playoffs, and guess what's right around the corner? You guessed it. The big dance, the big show, the big stage, the Super Bowl.
Absolutely, and let me tell you, man, these games this past weekend were crazy, man. It was like probably some of the best football we've probably seen in a while, Joe. I mean,
the most
it was
exciting
nuts.
for sure.
Crazy games, down to the wire, overtimes, back and forth, lead changes, turnovers. We saw it all, Joe. It was crazy.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, oh my God. So there's two sides of the spectrum right now for Bills and Chiefs, right? That to me was the most exciting back and forth type of game. Emotion was high and low throughout that whole thing. It was one of the best postseason games I have ever been a part of to watch. So very exciting, all the way down right to the very last second. 13 seconds. We're talking 13 seconds. Mm-hmm. The Bills had this game. 13 seconds. All they had to do was lock it up. They just, kickoff, right? 13 seconds remaining. What do you do? Well, I mean, what I would do is squib kick it. Squib kick it, make them pick up the ball, make them chew up some seconds off the clock. By the time they get tackled or whatever, maybe they're at the 30, maybe they're at the 35. But guess what? Time rolled off. They might have just 7 seconds left to do something with. They still got to get to the other side of the field. I mean, that makes it way harder, way more pressure on them to make anything happen. So that way, then it's like all you got to do is play your normal defense. Do not let them get any big chunk yards, but come up and make that tackle. You know, give them 5-10 yards, whatever, easy. Come up, tackle it. By the time they even have a chance to kick it, maybe time's expired. Maybe they do get it on the 40 and still have a shot to make it. You know what I mean? But it would have made it that much harder for the Chiefs to come back and win that game. But they did it. They handled their business, and here we are. Kansas City moves on.
Yeah, absolutely. And in that game, too, I'm watching it because I got my picks on there, too, to try and catch up with you. So I'm like, come on, Chiefs, all the whole way, right? But I'm also rooting for the Bills at the same time. This is what I do to myself. I make myself crazy because I wanted the Bills to win, too, as well. But, I got to do this for the competition. So, and that's what kind of emotional wreck it was. The Bills coming back and forth with these guys, going toe-to-toe. The running game, Josh Allen playing his heart out. And when I saw him drive down there, get that last game score right there to go ahead with 13 seconds left, I was like, it's done. And my son there, he's sitting there. He's a Chiefs fan. And I'm like, God, it's over. It's over. I'm sorry. Everybody better start walking away now, leaving the stadium. It's done.
But that's the problem, is that you could see some Bills teammates, coaches, they were hugging. They were like,
hugging and crying.
We got it. We did it. We were moving on. Listen, I don't care how much time is left on the clock. Until it's 0-0, you don't celebrate. You don't think it's over, because it's not. And with an offense like the Kansas City Chiefs do have, it's not over, even with 13 seconds.
We've seen it before with the Packers. Remember Julius Peppers thought he got his way there too, and then he's hugging and crying,
and then you have then you have the side of the Bills, like Leslie Frazier, the defensive coordinator. What the fuck are you doing? Seriously, 13 seconds left, and you call prevent defense? At on the first snap they rushed 4. Why?
What?
You just need to kill clock. Rush 3. Have an extra DB in the backfield. Play your normal defense, what was working. For the most part, they limited the Chiefs to practically, there wasn't that many huge plays all game. There was a couple. The one big huge touchdown catch by Tyreek Hill, who just freaking ran the whole field. Mecole Hardman had a big play, but honestly, the Chiefs didn't do so many of those. It was very limited. I thought that the Bills controlled them very well on defense. Yes, they gave up yards, but it was almost like a bend, don't break approach for them, and it seemed to work because their offense was killing it. It was running on all cylinders. The run game was working. Josh Allen was just, he was perfect. Like, he played a great game for the Buffalo Bills. So it's heartbreaking for the Buffalo Bills fans and the team. That organization, man, they are something to be reckoned with come next season for sure. For them to just display alone what they could do against the Chiefs this year. And going forward, there's a lot to like. They could still keep building on this team. So they're definitely a threat in the future. But, man, what a great game. And this is why you can never think the game is over, because it's not.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. You're watching it, and they did a really good job of getting that running game going in this playoffs too. Really, because where has Devin Singletary really been? Last couple of weeks, it was a lot of Josh Allen being part of the running game and getting it going. But you start to see that happening, and then that defense really stepping up and doing it. And they really controlled the game, I think, for most of the game here. They just kind of let it get out of hand. And like you said right there, when you got 13 seconds left over, at this point, once they reserved time and they had punted it or kicked it off, and they went for the fair catch, getting it at the 25. They weren't going to be able to try to bomb it down. They had to get at something underneath. So when you do that prevent defense, they gave them everything underneath. So they had a few seconds just to dish it down. First to Tyreek Hill, and then secondly, the second time they should have learned after that. First time.
Well, the problem is they gave up 25 yards on the first.
And I know.
That's the problem.
Play. That was the big problem.
Because when you play prevent,
when you didn't lock it up after that, I think that was the biggest problem. You have Kelsey to run to you, I think, is a problem.
You have all that space that you're giving up. And with as fast as the Chiefs' weapons are, and even Kelsey, I know he's a tight end, but he's a very athletically gifted tight end, and he can get upfield when he wants to. So I thought that they should have just – listen, you never play prevent defense, because we all know that the reason why the phrase came up is because it does exactly that. It prevents you from winning. Even with just 13 seconds, I know they were trying to protect the sidelines, keep everybody inside, so then if they do happen to catch it, the clock's going to run. But the Chiefs had 3 timeouts. They had all 3 of their timeouts, and they're going to use them every time they catch the ball. But the problem is those big chunk plays, 25 yards on the first play, and then for them to get right into field goal range on the very next play. I just don't understand, as a defensive coordinator, why you would just kind of lay back and say, hey, listen, we're going to let them screw up. But you're not. You're actually allowing them to do whatever they want with the type of defense that you were calling. So I'm sorry, Bills fans, but Leslie Frazier, for his name to come up even in head coaching vacancies as of late, that job right there should nullify that. And honestly, I would not even be surprised if Leslie Frazier was to lose his job after this. Because as good as that defense is, it's not just because of Leslie Frazier. It's the players on that football field. They got a pretty darn good nucleus of players. And I think if you put any good DC there, actually put Vic Fangio there right now. Think about that. With that crop of talent that they have, and if you were to fire Leslie Frazier and you bring in Vic Fangio, that team's just going to get better, which is even scarier.
And before you even get to that defense, it really, like you said, it should have been like a squib kick, because, again, you set up your special teams to run off the clock. If you kick it inbounds, they need to take it.
Right.
And they're not going to kneel it at the 5 because they know where they need to get to. So then it's a whole different mentality for them. So you gave them the opportunity, gave them the time, and that's what you're left with now. So I think it was a big, bad coaching situation altogether, whether it's special teams, head coach, and defensive coordinator, all in that last 13 seconds. And even now they have to sit on this. I mean, look back at this for a whole offseason. So.
Even if it's not a squib, a lot of times what coaches will do is tell the kicker to kick it just really high.
Really high.
Kick it really high, so then it gives your rush to come down. They get down there sooner, so there's really nowhere to go by the time they catch the ball, or hopefully they get down there quick enough.
You heard Tony Romo say something like that too as well. So again, maybe he should be really recognized at some of these head coaching jobs with what he's been doing, in the commentary. But all right, so let's take a look at a couple of the games here this past weekend too. That first one too. Look, one of the number ones, both number ones go down in the weekend, on the first day of the playoffs here for them, and the Titans and the Bengals. That was just a close defensive game to where it was just nuts. Joe Burrow sacked 9 times. 9 times, Joe. And then he throws the pick. I mean, it was just nonstop. They're pressuring. But then also the Bengals pressuring Ryan Tannehill. He throws 3 picks off of some tip passes here and there and just pressure nonstop. The running game going back and forth between Joe Mixon and Derrick Henry. But then also Deontay Foreman ripping off a couple big runs for them too. So to be able to do the 1-2 punch for the running game for the Titans was impressive for them. But knotted up, close. And now when you kind of look at it, just the questions that have been coming up is like, what is Mike Vrabel doing going for it on 4th down in that time when he was there in field goal range? And also when they went and got that penalty, when they were going to kick the extra point here after the touchdown, moving the ball up to the 1, going for 2 and not successful there, which again gave away some extra points too as well, which end up now, ends up being the game. But you don't know that until afterwards. We all see how it played out. But there's points left off the board there that they could have had.
I will say this. I think Mike Vrabel is a good coach. I think he's done a good enough job to get his team where they were. They were right in place, number 1 seed and all. I mean, I don't blame anything on Vrabel. I mean, yeah, he's playing to win. At least he's trying to get an edge no matter what. I mean, he went for it to get a 2-point conversion, failed. You know what I mean? He went for it on 4th down to try to get some big-time momentum going for his team. And it just didn't work out. But here's the bottom line. The bottom line for this game is the Titans' offense did not score points. They didn't. When you come away with only 16 points in the whole game, that's all you could put up, that's disappointment. Ryan Tannehill turning the ball over 3 times. 3 interceptions. Yeah, 1 ball was tipped, but still – you're throwing into coverage. You shouldn't be doing that. Making bad decisions on a big stage. That was absolutely ridiculous for the Titans to get as far as they have this year, and their defense to play. I mean, honestly, before the season even started, I didn't think much of this Titans defense. I remember the season prior, them kind of being a mediocre defense and not really doing much, not really getting sacks, not getting turnovers. They were struggling a little bit. But, man, they turned the corner, and they played so much better. They were a top 15 defense. There was something to be reckoned with, and especially in the playoffs, the Titans' defense didn't let them down at all. It's the Titans' offense that let them down. I don't care. They had Derrick Henry. They had all their weapons at their disposal, and they couldn't put up points against a Bengals defense. That is not superior. That isn't. They're just – listen, the Bengals' defense is a solid defense. They're not great. They're not terrible. They're just kind of they're there. They do what they're asked to do, and they execute the defense and the schemes that they're asked to do perfectly. So, Bengals, kudos to you. I will just say I did not expect the Bengals to beat the Titans at all. I think a lot of people would feel the same way, and honestly, they've surprised a lot of people. Listen, Joe Burrow and this offense is really starting to click, and it's right at the right time. I mean, they're able to put up 19 points against a really, really good defense in the Titans. And for the Titans to have 9 sacks on Joe Burrow, what do you want from this defense? This loss was completely on the offense. The Bengals, I give them all the credit in the world. Listen, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase in his rookie year, everybody. A rookie wide receiver. This does not happen a lot. 1,500 receiving yards in his rookie year. That's insane. And for him to be the number 1 option right now, right off the cuff with Joe Burrow throwing him the ball. And you look at the rest of this offense, Joe Mixon in the backfield, an all-pro back like that. An offensive line that's been ridiculed all season long. Can they protect Burrow? They need to do more. And then the receiving core with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase as a rookie and Tyler Boyd. There's a lot to like with this young Bengals team. And for them to get to this point, to have a chance on the AFC Championship stage to go up against one of the toughest teams in the NFL, in the Kansas City Chiefs, what else would you want? I mean, the Bengals fans have got to be going absolutely nuts ticket sales are soaring through the roof. You know they're trying to get their hands on the Kansas City tickets and kind of storm in there. But, man, what another really good game. But how good are the Bengals, I question. You know, are they going to be up to the task against a team like Kansas City? Now, if you remember, this past season, they did face each other. And, in fact, the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Chiefs. But that was the regular season, and this is playoff football. So this is going to be an exciting one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and again, you kind of root for a team like that. They're getting red hot towards the end of the season. They're young, so like I said last week, I think they're just a year premature right now. But you got to respect what they're doing and how they're playing too. That defense was all over him, and Joe Burrow really protected the football. When you see with the pressure there, he's not going to try and throw it out there to where you get your strip sacks. He's tucking in and just rolling him, taking the sack. Lived to fight another day, and then he found his open men when he did. And you gotta take credit too. Like you said, Jamar Chase, all the receivers, Uzoma too, getting some big catches there and taking some big hits as well, because that defense was all over them. But again, staying in there, hanging in there, and really that secondary of the defense really stepped up and getting pressure on the wide receivers and really tipping some of those balls away and creating those turnovers, especially the one late that ended up being the game deciding factor here for them. But also, when we looked at this game, we saw the talent that was coming back for the Titans. Julio Jones was coming back. You had, healthy Derrick Henry too as well. You know what I mean? So all the guys were back. I thought they were going to get even a little more. Derrick Henry, stay with that because, again, that running game got over 100 yards rushing. Just keep it going. And a lot of times they just put the hands into Ryan Tannehill's hands, and that passing game wasn't working out for them. I think if they played a little more reserved and just kept pounding the rock, they would have just tired out that defense and then eventually pulled out this win here. I think they just maybe fell in love with being able to have those weapons back and be able to have everybody all together, that they went to the well a little too many times. Because even that throw there that for the one touchdown that they had in the corner, that if the corner turns around, that's an interception again. I mean, it threw like back shoulder here, and he was barely able to come back around and get a one-handed catch here. But if that corner turns around, that's another interception. So he was lucky. Ryan Tannehill was lucky even to get that touchdown for them. So, but kudos to the Bengals. Again, they played hard, and now they've got a tough week ahead of them. Like I said, in the red hot Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and what they just did to the Bills.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too about that game is you got to wonder since they've been going for so long just playing without Derrick Henry, did they get used to playing without him, not running the ball as much as they would normally do, and they tried to keep the same kind of game plan going into this game against the Bengals? Because I'm sorry, but when I was watching this game, I didn't see Derrick Henry getting the ball like every other snap. It was like he would get the ball one or two times, and then all of a sudden he's like out on the sideline, and then they would come back in, and he was out, and then he'd come back in, and it was like they weren't doing their normal offense, which decimated opponents. I mean, by the fourth quarter, you had to still deal with Derrick Henry running at you. I mean, guys were getting tired, and I thought, just like you were just saying, is that the Titans would have implemented that type of offense once again and tried to tire out that Bengals defense, and
because you saw the big chunk plays too. They were getting with both running backs. So you throw Deontay Foreman at him, and look what he was getting. He was getting your big jump, bigger plays for them. Different type of back than what you had with Derrick Henry. So I thought it was a nice,
and that's what works well balance. when you have a guy that's power. I mean, let's face it. I mean, Derrick Henry is the most astonishing athlete for his size at the running back position. A guy that's not only really big, but can run faster than he looks. I mean, you see this guy taking strides. It doesn't look like he's running anywhere, but he's moving.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And for him to throw guys out of his way like he did before his injury, like, it was impressive. And then now all of a sudden you got Deontay Foreman to come in here, and he adds a little different element at that running back position to be able to utilize both of them. I thought, man, this is going to be a grind 'em type of game where the Bengals are going to have to just be more physical than the Titans. And it clearly just didn't go the way that we saw it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, number one knocked off again. The Titans ended up getting that spot, getting that bye week, and who knows, maybe they had too much to think about the game plan and what they were going to do instead of sticking with what they normally would have done there for them. But moving on, we've got the Green Bay Packers here too. They go down to the San Francisco 49ers, who have been like red hot here, Joe. So the 49ers, again, that defense was all over them and really playing hard and pressuring Aaron Rodgers. But early on in that game, when you take a look at it, it looked like Green Bay was going to kind of roll and do what they do. I mean, they got that touchdown with Dillon. Down there with A.J. Dillon and just moving it down at will. But then it kind of seemed like the 49ers figured them out, and then they kind of mellowed out a little bit, and they were kind of content with what they had, with the small little lead that they had. But it just started time started to pass here and there, and they just couldn't get down back into field goal range or get back into the red zone, and they kept the 49ers hanging in there, even though Jimmy G was making a lot of suspect throws out there. He was just there's so much air on that ball a lot of times. They're just fluttering. It looked like it was going to be a pick six almost every time when he checked it down. And able to get back into this game, and mistakes by the Packers to where also I think at the end of that game, when you look at it, the deep bomb, like, why are you throwing that pass? There was clearly some guys on the check down that Aaron Rodgers could have threw it to. Instead, he throws it deep, double covered to Devontae Adams, and it seemed like in this game he went to Devontae Adams way too much, like to the well. I think he needed to rely on some of these other guys, and I think he forced it there too much, and that ended up being the nail in the coffin for him altogether.
And Devontae Adams came up a bunch of times. Like he came away with some great catches. Aaron Rodgers came away with some great throws to him, trying to needle it in there. And he does it better than anybody else. You know what I mean? So, did he go too much to Adams? I think so, because when you got guys that were starting to come up through the receiving core, as Allen Lazard was seen more as a possession receiver, but man, he was always kind of like the security blanket, especially this season for Aaron Rodgers, started to show more trust in him. And I thought into this playoff game with the Niners defense and how healthy this defense has been now into the playoffs, that you have to utilize all your assets. Everybody that's there. Randall Cobb should have been more utilized. Allen Lazard should have been more utilized. Anybody to kind of offset the double coverage on Devontae Adams. And they didn't spread the ball around. Like I really thought that Aaron Rodgers was going to come in and spread this ball all over the place. They were going to run the ball with Jones. They were going to throw it to Jones out of the backfield. They were going to hand it off to A.J. Dillon. They were going to throw it to Allen Lazard. They were going to mix it up enough to where the Niners would have had a hard time defending everybody all over the field. That simply just didn't happen. And it was kind of perplexing a little bit here. But the Niners defense, listen, they're healthy now. They are getting after the ball. I mean, they are creating pressure. They're creating turnovers. They're doing everything that the Niners defense always usually does, especially when they have all their parts in place. And then offensively, I felt like the Packers defense did a good job holding it down against the run, where that's like their game plan. They run the ball, they kind of grind you out, and by the fourth quarter you're tired. The Packers, I felt, defensively did an adequate job to help the Packers offense to come back into this game and maybe win it. But honestly, I mean, the Niners in the end just did enough, and they executed on the plays and the success that they had throughout this game. Debo Samuel, another great game by him. To be able to run the ball again as a receiver and catch the ball and just flat out beat a lot of the coverage. Just an amazing player, and he's having a phenomenal year.
Absolutely. And Debo, he ended up getting hurt in that game too as well. And for him to really fight through it and be the guy that solidified it for them too as well. I think it was on that third down play where he ran and they just needed some more yardage. He actually got the first down, which was, again, the one that really killed it for him, to where they were going to kick the extra point the field goal with Robbie Gould to end it for them. But special teams, story of this game, because again, it seemed like to me that that the Packers were kind of content with having the lead that they had. The defense was mainly the thing that was getting it for them. We've seen Rashawn Gary in the back nonstop getting sacks. Zadarius Smith, had made a play in the big early part of the game. But special teams, you had the blocked field goal in the beginning too, and then at the end of the game that really, really killed it for them and got this 49ers team amped up and back in this game, that blocked punt when they were forced into the end zone, and nobody knew where on the Green Bay knew where this freaking ball was. It was amazing. They're looking around on the sides for this thing. I don't know. If I see a block, I'm kind of looking in the air if I can for this thing to try and track this ball. And it happens to land totally to the right where all the 49ers are. They pick it up, scoop it up, and score. So the 49ers, yes, their defense played well. Their special teams, so much better. But their offense, yes, they were able to run the ball a little bit, but really not looking so hot there under Jimmy G as well. Because, again, fluttery passes, and they really didn't put up any points for them on offense. It was all defense and special teams that got them out of this one. Yes, they come out with a win, which is good for them, and it ends up working out. But to beat some of these other teams, like the Rams, with the weapons that they have, you need to be able to score on offense. And I didn't see the 49ers really do any of that. So it's going to be scary for them this next week coming up.
It's going to be a tall order for sure. And that leads us right into that next game is the Rams-Buccaneers game. Listen, early on in this game, I didn't get to see the beginning of this game or whatever, but then I started to catch it as I got closer to halftime. Like, wow, wait a second, what's the score? It's like 27-6 or something like that. I'm like,
yeah.
The Rams
it was like 27-3.
were
handling. They were.
I mean, handling Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
I was shocked. I was like, wow, I didn't see it go this kind of crazy. But the Buccaneers were being handed a can of whoop ass right here.
Yeah.
To my surprise, I'm like, oh my God, this game is, and it's already in the fourth quarter. As it got closer, it's like, man, this game looks like it's going to be over really quick. And then here comes Brady, right? Doing what Tom Brady does with his team, keeping them focused in the game, no matter what the deficit was, and keeping them focused, and brought them right back into this Rams game to have a chance at the end to come back by that kind of a deficit. And just to be involved, at least towards the end of the fourth quarter, the Rams, listen, they definitely earned their win but it looked like the Rams were just trying to give it up.
Absolutely.
They were making mistake after mistake, and the Buccaneers were taking advantage of it. That's really what the game was. So. Sean McVay, you can't criticize this guy too much because he's done a pretty good job up to this point. But the one thing I'll say about McVay is he does a good job coaching, calling plays. So far this year, he struggled early on, but then as it almost seemed like he got tighter with his play calling into the playoffs. But the one thing that's always escaped him is that Super Bowl game when he played the Patriots and Bill Belichick, and just he kind of was in awe, you know what I mean, on that stage. And I don't think he was ready for it. Maybe this might be the year, if he happens to make it to that point, where he'll be more prepared for that emotional roller coaster that is the Super Bowl. But man, what a phenomenal game. It was very exciting. A lot of plays were happening on both sides, and the Rams end up getting the win in the end.
Oh, yeah. He went to OBJ early. He was getting all the touches here. Cooper Kupp was non-existent. Then he started to get him involved for the Rams, and Cam Akers mixed in there too as well. But that's the thing. Again, after the second half started, this is where you saw it start to fall apart. They're getting at midfield. Cam Akers fumbles. Then you get Cooper Kupp, after that, in Tampa Bay gets it at midfield, good position, able to capitalize it. They get a score. Cooper Kupp fumbles deep in their area too as well. So then sets Tampa Bay up for another easy score too as well. And then you feel it. You feel the butterflies. I could see it again. I'm like, oh man, not again. Here we go. And again, I'm surprised that you even went that way with the whole Tom Brady coming back, because we don't like to paint that picture like Tom Brady, because he really didn't do a lot of that. It was really the Rams losing this game for themselves here, crumbling, much like the Atlanta Falcons did to get into this game here, to lose their game in the Super Bowl. And it's just the mystique, I think, of Tom Brady, or that type of thing that he does have, that when you give him all these mistakes and opportunities, these guys can get back into it easy, just like that. And you're going to do that. But, I mean, the story of it was these guys getting too nervous, I think, not really taking care of the football, and really getting Tampa Bay back into this game. And it was going to be one of those stories again. And I was about to throw up in my mouth again, because here we go. Tom Brady's going to make it to the Super Bowl again because another team happens to crumble in one of these championship or divisional round games. We've seen it way too many times. We saw it with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We saw it with a few others. The Colts have done it before, that you get a lead and then you give it up, and then there he is. He's back in it. And we see it. History repeats itself over and over again. But luckily, the Rams, again, you talk about last-minute type of drives, too, as well. They get it with seconds left over. I'm watching this. I'm like saying to myself again, no, this can't be happening. I don't want this to go to overtime here. But the Rams, they get it down there. And a couple big plays, too, by Matthew Stafford. And this is why they went and grabbed Matthew Stafford, to be able to pull off some of these plays. Some of the throws he made in that game, I really don't trust Jared Goff to pull off. No. I don't think he would have tried to do some of those as well. You know, Matthew Stafford got the arm for it, and he's got I don't know what it is. It's the balls or the machismo. He just goes. He just doesn't give a shit. Just goes, throws it out there, hits the man on target, and you've got the weapons here to do it too as well that help him out. Cooper Kupp hits a big one, gets him in position. They go run forward quick and clock that thing with like 4 seconds. That's one thing I'm watching the clock tick down. We're looking at maybe it's not the same thing as the quarterback draw that the Cowboys did, but we're watching the clock again, watching who sets it and if they can spike this in time with seconds left, and they get it down and able to kick the game-winning field goal. It was exciting at the end, nail-biting, when really the whole first half was like, yes, they're killing these guys, but then they had to, again, make it close, exciting, and wow, I'm just glad that Tom Brady is not in the Super Bowl again and not further on into this playoffs. And now he's considering retirement now, Joe. So maybe he will walk away after this. What do you think? What's your thoughts on that? Maybe Tom Brady possibly walking away after this year. Do you think he's going to, even though he didn't get a win here, but he's still getting that age where he said he wanted to play to? Gisele's always on his back. You're like, hey, let's spend time with the family. Let's do this. What do you think?
Well, that's the thing is that if you listen to the way his press conference goes, about him talking about family, about him talking about his wife, about him talking about life after football, you get a sense that he's for once he's actually going to entertain possibly retiring and moving on, because he also, his famous statement now that everybody keeps bringing up is that he goes, it's not all about what I want. You know, and when you say something like that, when you're contemplating retirement, that means you're legitimately going to give it a chance to talk. He's going to talk with his wife Gisele. He's going to you know, he's got kids. You know, he wants to be home for his kids. Gisele wants him home as her husband. And listen, I feel like the family portion of life that Tom Brady has missed up to this point is going to be really tough to kind of give up to play another season or whatever, because they've sacrificed so much for him to play football. It's his dream. He's accomplished so many things. He's seen as one of the best quarterbacks ever to play the game, and it's like now he's reached a point, because Gisele's even asked him, what more do you have to prove? What else do you have to prove? Because honestly, I've seen you break all these records, all these milestones, and you've won all these championships. What else do you have to do in this game?
Yeah, he's got the TB12. He even has a new clothing line out now too as well.
So I mean, he's had all this success, and now it's gotten to a point where he's going to entertain that option. And I feel like this might be the best chance that he does decide to retire is this year. Because listen, he gave it another year, said, "Hey, we won it." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can come,
Maybe
babe.
we could do it
babe,
again. We got everybody.
Babe, I can. What if I come back and I win another chip? You know what I mean? That conversation definitely was had, and she's like, "Okay, well, sure, go ahead and try it, whatever." But then we're really gonna have a real serious sit down. So he's lost now. So now he's out of the playoffs. Now it comes to the thinking part, and the best, I would say, the best. Not option, but like kind of like the best route for Brady right now And the toughest now is he's not in the playoffs anymore. So now he's going to be thinking a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He's not going to make it to the Super Bowl and then have all the hysteria of the media and this, that, and the other thing to keep him in there. Now he's going to sit back. He's going to be playing with his kids at home. He might
can watch the game.
He's probably still going to watch the game and stuff.
Yeah.
But then he's going to be talking to his wife and doing things like that, the family kind of stuff. So, and then he might be like, "Damn, I really want to be here for my kids. I really want to, you know what I mean?" So he might have a moment in the off season where he's like, "Man, I really think it's time to move on. I think it's time to move on. I got my TB12 company going on. I got a clothing line coming on. Maybe it is time to turn the chapter and then retire." So I think if there was any year, this is the year that looks the most promising for Brady to kind of walk into the sunset.
Absolutely. We got Brandon Matthew in the house with us tonight.
What's going on, Brandon?
There he goes. He says, Niners Empire right there. Yeah, and plus, where's No Donnie? No Donnie should be in the house, too, here, representing the Niners, too, as well.
No Donnie's a Cardinals
He's a Cardinals fan. That's right. Oh, I'm sorry. That's right.
He's not going to be
No,
in
it was
the show.
Bob Money. Bob Money was the other guy from YouTube. That's who it was. Gaz is in the house with us tonight, too, as well. Should
What's
Tom
up, Gaz?
Brady consult with me before he retires? What about us Bucs fans? The Bucs fans have a couple of different things that are going to go on here because you heard that Gronk said he doesn't even want to play for another quarterback either. So he might walk away. But then also in the press conference, he just also said that maybe all depends on what the quarterback situation is. If it is the right type of guy, maybe I will come back or whatever and play. But you might just be losing both those guys. So now your team's looking in a whole different situation. If you lose Tom Brady and you don't have that guy, who's their backup? What's his name again? Is it Trask? Is there a backup?
Kyle Trask he was the draft pick that they selected this past draft and from Florida, who has promise. They do like his progression, his development. However, I don't think he's ready just yet to kind of just, even though he's been sitting behind Brady,
right?
But he's been, I believe he's been as the third string, not necessarily the primary backup. And it's like, to me, it's like, if you're going to move on from Brady, right? And Kyle Trask is your guy that you're going to be like, okay, we're going to win, lose, or tie with this guy next season. There's going to be a lot of downs versus ups in terms of next season. You got basically a rookie quarterback coming in who hasn't played a snap. You know what I mean? A lot of allure goes on when you're behind Tom Brady because you're looking up to him. You're learning a lot from him. But then to put it on the football field, to execute the X's and O's on the football field, in the classroom, I don't know if he's ready just yet to take on. He's going to have to, obviously, if his number's called. But for the Buccaneers, who clearly don't have an answer, if Brady does decide to retire all of a sudden now, it's just not in the cards right now. So, yeah, they might be forced to go with him. You know that they're probably going to maybe bring in another veteran quarterback to maybe help Kyle Trask along. I know like Niner fans are thinking about Jimmy G. Like, are they going to keep him? Is he going to be available via trade or something like that? Maybe that's a guy that maybe Tampa Bay wants to bring in or something like that. But all in all, it's going to be an interesting scenario based on what Brady does. And the same thing that you were mentioning about Gronk, I'm hearing that Gronk may retire even if Brady comes back.
Well, yeah.
So that's something else to kind of monitor. And let's be honest about this. If Brady does decide to come back for one more year, that's the whole motto now. It's going to be like one more year type of deal. But if he does and Gronk doesn't, they don't really lose anything. They still have all these weapons at their disposal, so they don't lose much.
Yeah, but you look at a bunch of the other contracts, 1-year deals that they did with these guys. So
and
you're going to lose a bunch of other veterans that they had, but again, they got to look forward after Brady anyways.
Right.
And with the Brady moving on situation, again, like you said, the way he's saying it sounds like he's being forced out again, because you do hear the way he's saying it. It's kind of that dickhead kind of sound, like where your wife looks at you like, really, you had to say it that way? Because the way he's saying it is like, well, it's not really all about what I want. It's about, so it's kind of like, all right, somebody else wants something else, wants you to stop, so it's that, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, all right, we already know that that she wants you to stop, so that's why you're going to end up stopping, because that's what she wants. And not say, oh, hey, I've talked about it with my family. We've all decided that this is probably the best move for me. I'm gonna move on.
And there's,
you know what I mean?
it still
Which
might
he
have
probably
that
might
statement.
say that, but
You know what I
again,
mean?
the same way he's saying it, it's kind of like, oh, it's not all about me always, and it's what I want. But Godzilla Media's in the house, and he says, I like Joe's new beard.
I like you. You have balls.
Thanks,
I
brother.
like balls.
Yeah, I didn't even notice. Right? It's funny. I was like looking at him, like beard. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess he does have like a full beard now. I'm like, I always knew the goatee was longer and stuff, but I didn't even pay attention. I'm sorry, man. I don't pick up on that stuff. But there you go.
I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, no problem. Guys in the house. All right. So yeah, again, that's something they're gonna look forward to and see what happens. But who knows? Maybe Tom Brady does come back, and that's a whole nother story. But I think once I saw the man in the arena play throughout this season, I thought that was his last hurrah right here for us. They tried to do it last year with, they kept showing all the milestones that he had throughout the playoffs. Then he got the storyline ending. But now they did the man in the arena. I think it's just it. That's it. They're going to be moving on. It's done. So that's the saga for Tom Brady. But you know what? The saga is not over for our friends at Colorize, Joe. They are one of the top Benjamin Moore dealers here in upstate New York. They have 3 locations: Queensbury, Clifton Park, and then also Niskayuna. Talk to my man Brett at Niskayuna. He knows what he's doing. He's been in the experience in this job for 20 years. Color mixing, color matching, advice of what you want to do with your house. You got a project you want to do. They are the paint professionals there at Colorize. Go to any one of their 3 locations, or you can check them out at mycolorize.com, and they can help you out. And not just with Benjamin Moore stuff. They deal with a bunch of other PPG and other products. So they have the know-how, like you said, the experience. Check them out, mycolorize.com or any of their 3 locations. And while you're there, talk to them about also the companies that they work with, like our friends at Paul Perry Kitchens, too, who have 2 locations on Freemansbridge Road. That's right. Not only do they do kitchen cabinets and countertops, quartz, corian, all that stuff, granite tops, beautiful tops and beautiful kitchens, but go down to their second location. If you want a walk-in closet, you want the custom glass shower doors and stuff like that, the walk-in showers with the jets and everything, stuff like that, the shoe closet that you get for your wife, all these gifts, just set them all up. Make her life like Tom Brady's. Going to say, I'm coming home to you, honey. Make her happy. You can't make her Tom Brady, Giselle happy, but get her a nice shoe closet there from PPK and a new kitchen. She'll be smiling, loving it. Tax time's coming around, so spend your tax money on that. Go check it out, ppk.com, or check them out on Freemansbridge Road at both their locations here. That's right. So Colorize, PPK together. It's a big, happy family. Let's go check them out and tell them you heard about it from Football on the No Show. That's right. Joe, and then also in some news, too, the Super Bowl is coming. We've got Radio Row coming up. We weren't able to make it to L.A. because of COVID situations and stuff like that. With restrictions. But we started our own Radio Row, Joe. And there's going to be stuff that's coming out now, too. I want to leak out a whole bunch yet. But we will be at Techie's Fire and Water Restoration. Yeah, dude, restoration. Yeah, I got to learn how to speak right. Techie's Fire and Water Restoration in Colony here. All the Godzilla Media podcasts that whole week, talking football the week before the Super Bowl. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, so check it out. All you locals out there, Albany and in the Tri-City area, come down to Techie's Fire Water Restoration and say hi. Or you can, again, check out the Godzilla Media YouTube page where they'll be posting videos nonstop of all the interviews. I ain't going to say anybody that we have on there, but there's a lot of great former NFL players and also media personalities in the game right now, too. So you guys make sure you sit tight for that.
Yeah, when we get confirmation, we'll let you guys know who we're going to be sitting down with. It's pretty exciting. It's going to be awesome. It's our own personal virtual Radio Row, if you will.
Oh, hell yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun with a lot of other sponsors, too, as well. All right, so, yeah, there's a lot of this season's over, so, I mean, for a lot of teams. And they started hacking and slashing. We saw the Black Monday, and GMs are down. Yeah. Coaches are out. We've seen some GMs get hired now, finally. With some of them. The New York Giants get Joe Shane, too, from the Buffalo Bills. So they've got their guy now. So the question is now, who are the coaches that are going to be picked up on these? And you're hearing a lot of the same names: Eric Bieniemy, things like that. Byron Leftwich. People are looking at Brian Dable, and you're hearing some other ones that are out there thrown around too. Some of the question marks even here with some of them like Dan Quinn. Leslie Frazier and others now. Now let's take a look at the vacancies that are out there. We've got the Bears, the Broncos, the Texans, the Raiders, the Jacksonville Jaguars, the New York Giants, the Dolphins, the Vikings, and now we hear after the stepping down of Sean Payton, the New Orleans Saints are available. Now there's a head coaching job available right there for the Saints, Joe. Shout out to No Donnie in the house with us, by the way, too. He says, go Bengals. He's ready to get it done here.
He's rooting for the Bengals
He's rooting for the Bengals because he doesn't like those 49ers. He's a Cardinals fan, and he wants to see them go down, and then the Chiefs, too, as well. So, I mean, wants to see a whole different new set of teams in there, too, I think. He wants to get that fire started. Let's get it. But now, Joe, taking a look at these vacancies, what do you think is the most appealing job here for these guys? I mean, so you see a lot of good things about some of these teams. Some of the personnel that they are going to be able to keep around, like the Miami Dolphins. They get very youthful, very good team that's kind of on that merge of moving up, and that was kind of a head scratcher for me of why they moved on from Brian Flores.
Yeah.
And for me, it was the only thing that made sense was they didn't agree on the whole Deshaun Watson situation and quarterback situation. So he had to go.
Yeah, definitely. And when you look at these teams, you also got to take into consideration, GM-wise, what GM works well with some of the coaches that are available out there. The Dolphins, to me, are going to be the team for this upcoming season where they have the most cap space right now. They look like they're a team, even as young as they are, the talent that they have up and down that roster, that defense is pretty darn good. And when you couple that with a young quarterback, a young offensive line, some young weapons and everything, and a boatload of money, it looks like they're going to be projected to have about $69 million under the cap, which is a ton. So they could do some real damage this upcoming free agency if they wanted to. Not to mention, they have multiple picks in yet another season's draft coming up. So they're going to keep building this team, and maybe a year, maybe 2 years down the road, then they're going to be competitive in this division and pushing for the crown. So I would say that's one of my most peculiar teams that are out there with a lot of money, a lot of freedom, a lot of youth on that team already. That to me, it's like I want to go coach that team right now. I mean, I'm actually absolutely shocked that Brian Flores got fired and got let go, and now he's out there in free agency. He's one of the top head coaches in my mind that's available. And for the Dolphins to kind of move on from him, who are you replacing him with right now? You know what I mean? And a lot of the guys that they're entertaining is kind of confusing. It's almost like they're not upgrading by any means. It seems like they're downgrading with some of the names that have been coming out. Like Jim Caldwell is one of them. Gerard Mayo is another one that they might interview. You know what I mean?
Y'all fucking serious right now?
It's just, to me, it doesn't make sense as an organization why they moved on from Flores when they have success with him. The guy, I understand, they went on a little bit of a losing streak almost halfway through the season, but then the second half, they won 8 straight games. So obviously Flores has his players playing extremely hard for him, not giving up, and they also went through kind of like a Rolodex of injuries throughout the season. So for them to still come out kind of like 500-ish, I think that's a win for this year. So
even in their first season that they had, they looked like they were doing that fire sale, and they all got rid of a bunch of different players to get those picks. They still played hard and competed.
Right, but that was a plan. We didn't see it at the time. We saw them getting rid of a lot of talent, but there was a plan in place for them to get multiple picks for those players. They had a plan to replace them, and it seemed to work out so far. But a lot of changes now. Flores is out. Whoever the new guy is in, that to me is one of the most attractive teams. Just a couple others to mention too is obviously I would say, to be honest, the Jaguars. The Jaguars, you're going to say, oh, wow, they're in dire straits. They're terrible. But you know what? They do have some pieces on that roster to work with. DJ Chark is looking like he's going to be a free agent unless they decide to re-sign him. They did draft a quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is the guy, so it's like they already have a quarterback in place. They gotta retool that offensive line, add some more weapons around him. If you don't remember, Travis Etienne, who they drafted last year as a running back, along with Trevor Lawrence, that he didn't even get to play last year, so we didn't even know how special he could become as out of the backfield or in the slot. It looked like they were planning on using him all over the football field. So there are players on that roster that you can work with, and they just got to keep rebuilding that franchise. So with another team with a lot of money, a lot of freedom and free agency that they could have, $59 million under the cap, it looks like they're projected to be. So that's another team to me that's attractive. And then if you're gonna go with like a more competitive team that is not that far away, is honestly the Raiders. I mean, the Raiders have Derek Carr, a proven quarterback. They just need a couple of pieces on that offensive line to lock that down. And then you need to add, once again, it seems like a revolving door after the whole thing with Henry Ruggs. Now he's out of the NFL. He's done. Now they need to find a couple of receivers, whether it be bring in a guy from free agency, maybe trade for one if that's what they feel is the right move, or in the draft, or a combination of both. And that team offensively is scary. And that defense, how much better they got. They're not there yet defensively, but with maybe a couple pieces here and there and maybe a new coaching staff to implement a more aggressive defense, maybe that's what you need to win. So they're in a tough division, so you got to consider that. And they don't have a ton of cap space, but let's say they're going to look to be projected about $27 million, which isn't nothing. I mean, that you can work with that. You can bring in some big-time free agents for that kind of money. So that's another attractive one. And then the Saints. Everyone's going to say, well, what about the New Orleans Saints? Well, I'll tell you why it's not so attractive. And I'll tell you also that Sean Payton, this could probably be the reason why he wanted to get out of Dodge. Is because they are projected to have $74 million of no cap space. They're going to be $74 million projected above the cap, which means, guess what? Fire sale. Everybody must go. Alvin Kamara, trade him.
Boom.
Trade this guy. Trade that
Michael
guy.
Thomas.
It's time to hit the reset button in New Orleans. And unless they can work out some kind of miracle, they're going to be losing a lot of players. You got to look at guys like Cameron Jordan, who recently signed for big-time money. Now that's going to come back to hurt them. There's a lot of big names on this. Marshawn Lattimore, I believe he's due to be a free agent this year. I don't think they're going to be able to, they're clearly not going to be able to resign guys like this. So there's a lot moving on. Jameis Winston, can't bring him back. Guess what? Even on the cheap, can't bring him back. So Taysom Hill gave him a load of money. I mean, and most of it was incentive laden. However, you're still paying him a chunk of change for being pretty much a backup X Factor type of player. So a lot of financial turmoil now in New Orleans, and this is why Peyton wanted out, because he saw the writing on the wall. As soon as Drew Brees decided to retire, he's like, well, I'm still under contract, so I'm going to try to coach this team as best I can with the pieces that I have. But now he sees it like, I'm not going through a whole rebuild mode. There's no way I'm coaching through all this. I'm done. I'm out of here. Bye-bye. So, Saints, that's going to be a job for a up-and-coming coach, like a coach that, that is going to try, obviously anybody that gets hired is going to try to do their best here. However, it's almost like a sinking ship. And you're going to come into this right now, and if you can't seem to get anything going in the next 3 years or so, it looks like you're going to be the fall guy of the next coach that comes in. You know what I mean? So
that is one big pile of shit.
Going to take a while for this team to kind of come back around, and I feel like is going to be relevant again. I feel like they're going to lose too many key pieces and have to do too many changes by getting subtracting from this roster more than adding, to where it's going to be a little while, to say the least, for them to be back in the hunt.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the same thing. You're picking up exactly what I was looking at too, as well. That this cap hit is so big, and we talked about it the past couple of years. It's been growing, getting bigger here and there, and then now with that Taysom Hill deal that they did too didn't help so much either for them. And he looked at this. He didn't have Drew Brees. He put whatever he had into Taysom Hill, hoping that he could be the guy that he wanted him to be, and it wasn't it. And he knew that there's a quarterback situation. They don't have their quarterback in the house right now. It isn't Trevor Siemian. It isn't Jameis Winston. So now is a good time to walk away. And he says, too, he goes, I have different plans. Coaching is the farthest thing from my mind right now. So everybody else who's thinking that they might have an opportunity to get Sean Payton right now, it's probably not the deal. I wished maybe it happened for me, and the New York Giants can go and get Sean Payton. He can come back to New York.
It can happen.
And help out. It could still, but we'll
only
see.
By
we'll
a
see
trade.
If he changes his mind. But yeah,
only by a trade.
But again, I'm looking at this too. I'm thinking the money is a problem. It's not going to be worth it. They got to rebuild. He doesn't want to rebuild. He just would rather move on. He's got Hall of Fame status right now, I think, for what he's done with the New Orleans Saints. They weren't really relevant until he came here, and they had Drew Brees. It was his idea to bring Drew Brees over, and the rest is history, and you know what we have with them. So as far as the Saints, I don't think they are. The name sounds good, but if you look at everything and the money in the situation, stay away. That is not the deal there for them. That is not the coaching spot you want to do, unless, again, you want to be that guy that is interested in building something with the GM that they have. I think it's Loomis. Mickey Loomis is the GM there. He's got to find this guy.
Hire me, I'm ready.
To get it going.
Let's go.
And see what they can do, but they got to also sell, like you said, dump this money, either restructure some, but then also get rid of a bunch of these other guys. Michael Thomas, he's going to be gone. He's got to get rid of him too as well. Alvin Kamara, same deal. All right, so let's look at all of them that's left over here.
Another one, Broncos.
A lot of them are just like rebuilding. Broncos, I think, is a good one here. The Giants is not. And even the Minnesota Vikings isn't too bad, but I really like what you're kind of saying here, too, along the lines of like the Dolphins, because, again, they've got the money. They've got the cap space. Mm-hmm. It seems like they have the talent here, too. Quarterback situation, you can make it work, I think, with Tua, but, again, he's just he needs to grow. You got to believe in him. You can't just say, you're in this week, then
weapons.
you're not. Yeah, absolutely, too. That's a big factor, too.
Because they haven't been on the field
they
enough.
had him, and he's been, yes, he does get injured easy, though, too. So you got to worry about that at times. But you can't keep putting him in and out with a different quarterback and changing it here and there. When the big moment's on, you put Ryan Fitzpatrick in. You saw that a year ago when they decided to do that. You need to help them build confidence. And then this team, like you said, has the money. They have a lot of talent around them, and they have the picks. They can really move forward here and in a division that's still tight, but still we've seen divisions with close type of teams that are very good make it. Look at the NFC West right now. NFC West has the talent that the two teams right now in the playoffs playing each other for the championship to get into the Super Bowl. Two NFC West teams. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you can get these teams, plus the Cardinals were in there before. So, I mean, you can get three different teams into the playoffs from the same division, and the Miami Dolphins are poised and ready to strike here. So I like them as well. And then the Jaguars. The one thing I did not like about them was their head coach. Well, he's not there anymore. So what's the deal? What are you going to do here? You've got the money. Like you said, you've got the franchise quarterback too as well. It seems like he just started to come on Trevor Lawrence, get more comfortable towards the end of the season, get some things together. One thing I think they need to do, like you said about your Raiders, I think they have some money. Get one of those top talent wide receivers in there. We've had head scratchers about who was going to be their big receiver with them. It was unfortunate for them to have DJ Chark get injured early on in the season, so that was a major bummer for them as well. But then we saw towards the end of the season trying to get James Robinson more involved, and you saw the interim coach said, hey, we got to do this too, and they started to play better. But also, I like them they've always been a strong defense down in Jacksonville. I think if they get a defensive-minded coach too as well, get that going again, that would help them too, to get this team fired up and to help Trevor Lawrence too, and not have to be constantly getting in and out. That they want the defense to take care of the other team so they can build and grow and get the running game to go together and be more balanced and not be behind the eight ball as much.
And the thing with the Jaguars too is that when you have a young quarterback like that, you still need to groom him. He still needs to grow, still needs to be developed. So to me, what the Jaguars are probably going to be focused more towards is offensive coaching. So they've already they've brought in offensive-minded coaches already. Byron Leftwich right now looks like he's the favorite to win this job in Jacksonville. And I think that's going to be great for a guy like Trevor Lawrence because Byron Leftwich has been around Tom Brady. Byron Leftwich has been around multiple quarterbacks, even in Arizona, where he first started his offensive coordinator career. And he's had his chance to kind of develop Kyler Murray as a young quarterback. And then he moves to Tampa Bay. And then I know you're going to say, oh, well, he didn't develop Tom Brady. No. But you know something, what would help Byron Leftwich himself is that he started to learn some things from maybe Tom Brady and all his experience as a quarterback, which might help him in his coaching venture. So the Jaguars look like right now they're kind of honing in on Byron Leftwich, and if that is their hire, I feel like it's a smart hire, and it's a guy that's going to help further develop Trevor Lawrence, which is what Jacksonville needs.
And then finally, for me, too, the Raiders. I think that's a really good spot, maybe even my top spot for right now because, again, they're just a game out of making it to the playoffs here in a tough AFC West division. And you saw how they played when they lost, their head coach. They had their interim coach, Rich Bisaccia and stuff. But, again, I think they weren't really fueled by him. I think they were fueled by each other. And you talk about having that franchise quarterback. And I think that's what Derek Carr is. Everybody keeps, wanting to use him as an excuse when they lose. But when they do well, I mean, it's a lot of it is because of him. They have a great running back in the back end, too, as well. Josh Jacobs, you cannot deny that. What he does in the running game and the pass game altogether. Darren Waller, again, overlooked, I think, throughout his career. Now looks really nice with the Raiders, too. But Joe said as well, you've lost Ruggs. You've lost some of his other talent here. Brian Edwards, he needs that other guy. I don't think he's your number one, so you got to get another guy out there on the opposite side of them and to help Derek Carr to get another bigger threat for them. And that defense looks like if they can keep playing they were at the end of the season here, they could be poised to do something here, especially with that pass rush we see in the Max Crosby of old. And, along with him with Yannick Ngakoue, too, adding some pressure here. That's a nice spot to jump into right now where I think they're ready. They're ready right now. I think Mike Mayock and what Gruden had done is they had just were getting it. They had just added the flour, got the gravy thick enough, and it's ready to serve right now. They just need the right cook to serve it up right now with that turkey.
It's definitely a possibility. It's one of the most attractive places to go if you're a head coach. But my question too is for all these teams that are still looking and they're interviewing and stuff. But for some of the teams that still don't have a GM, and it seems like everybody's trying to interview everybody. Mm-hmm. Like the Raiders are interviewing GMs, they're interviewing head coaches. Usually the GM does that. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little kind of confused on what's happening this offseason for some of the teams that are out of the playoffs right now in terms of it doesn't seem like we're doing anything traditionally anymore. It seems like owners now are interviewing head coaches or interviewing GMs until they find the right fit for both of them. There was a heck of a lot of rumors out there about Jim Harbaugh maybe coming back to the NFL. What team might he go to? There's rumors about him going to the Raiders. There's rumors about him just even contemplating what head coaching offers are available to him. Does it happen? Does it not happen? Who knows? But in the end, there's a lot of moving around with GM positions. And as far as we still have that new rule where you have to interview 2 minority coaches or 2 minority front office GMs or assistants before you can actually make your hire. Mm-hmm. So how much does that go into play now for some of these teams? There's definitely well-qualified minority candidates out there There's a guy from the Cincinnati Bengals who I think would be an amazing GM for whatever team, in Trey Brown. You know, there's a guy, Champ Kelly from Chicago, that a lot of people are talking up right now. But what direction do you go? Do you go for that more X's and O's guy, or do you go for the guy that, you know, he just seems to work well with numbers and paperwork? And so I don't know where each team is going to be going, but in the end, it's going to be interesting how everything gets laid out, because you hear rumors. Mm-hmm. You hear some reporters out there that say, well, this looks like it's going to happen. Just like the article that came out about the Jaguars today, about Byron Leftwich. Mm-hmm. They're like, he's the front runner. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fine, but is he, though? Because he's coming back for a second interview, which usually indicates that he's going to sign. That's usually a big deal. So, but we've seen it before where second interviews have taken place and nothing gets done.
Right.
Josh McDaniels was the perfect guy for that. He had his second interview all lined up, was going to sign that contract, and instead he said, no, I'm going to stay with New England.
Yeah, well, even in the New York Giants looking for a GM, they had multiple second interviews here, but they ended up choosing Joe Shane. So, I mean,
but
again,
at least the Giants did their due diligence.
Yeah.
On trying to find the right guy.
Multiple, and then end up hopefully grabbing the right guy. He sounds like he's ready to go, and we'll see what happens.
Real quick for the Dolphins, it looks like they're kind of one of their favorite targets right now is Brian Dable from Buffalo, the offensive coordinator, as their head coach possibly. So staying in the division, it seems like, you know, taking someone away from one of their rivals and bringing them to the Miami Dolphins. So
that's where
we'll wait and see where that goes.
Right, and if you look at that situation, I think that's where we're going to see maybe if it is situation, what is more appealing is that's going to be the decider. Because, you know, with the Giants, with their GM they grabbed is from the Buffalo Bills organization. So he knows Brian Dable, and they've brought him in for a second interview. Is he able to, just because they know each other, relationships?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Is he going to be able to, you know, say, hey, you know, this is a nice situation. Why don't you come along with us? They don't have the situation that the Dolphins have. Dolphins have money. Dolphins have some younger talent. Dolphins had a better record. Dolphins seem like they're just a better situation right now. And it's nicer weather, too, as well. You know, get the hell out of Buffalo. You could go there and play in Miami. Then you get to play the Buffalo Bills and then see your old friends, too, you know, twice a year, too. Is that going to be a deciding factor? So that's an interesting thing, too, when you look at these different situations and relationships.
Yeah. I think the Giants got the right guy for their GM.
I think so at this point, too.
The other side of the coin, though, too, is when head coaches are looking to get hired. You know what I mean? Say you get two offers from two different teams. But then it comes into, well, what can I do with this team? What do they have currently, and what can I project this roster to be later on with the cap available, you know, with how many draft picks they have. So that also comes into the equation. It's going to be interesting to see how all these teams, when it's all said and done, they get their GMs in place for the ones that are still hiring GMs, the head coaches, when all the dust settles, to see where all these teams, where they didn't have coaching staffs, now they do. Let's see what direction they tend to go, because you can go offensive, defensive. You know what I mean? So we'll see.
One last question before we get into our next segment here. As I'm thinking about it, looking at it, are you surprised now that the Seattle Seahawks haven't made a move on Pete Carroll and trying to maybe say, hey, will you step down and walk away from this whole thing? Because, again, if you got Russell Wilson that seemed like he was disgruntled throughout this thing and ready to walk away, and then the Seahawks are hanging on to this, say, we are not trading him away. This is not going to happen. But obviously there's something different there, and we talked about it to where maybe they needed to make a choice. Pete Carroll's the oldest, I think, maybe after Bill Belichick.
Maybe,
you know,
he's up there.
Yeah, up there, yeah, for head coach. Again, seems like he doesn't have it with the team as much anymore. You know what I mean? They're kind of on the ropes of don't really have an identity. Are you going to choose Russell Wilson or are you going to choose Pete Carroll? Maybe they do decide to say, hey, man, why don't you just walk away? Are you surprised that he's still there and they're kind of lingering in that limbo?
I am. I'm actually surprised because, listen, where there's smoke, there's fire. And it's way too often that we've heard from Russell Wilson's camp or his side, his agent, whoever is leaking out these rumors or thoughts about Russell Wilson and his future, about wanting to maybe pursue a trade, maybe wants to get out of there and go to a different franchise. And you keep hearing the same thing. You keep hearing Pete Carroll is the problem. You keep hearing that Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll don't get along. And you've seen it this year more than anything on the sidelines, where Russell Wilson had a disagreement on the sidelines with Pete Carroll, and they had an argument. And, yeah, that kind of stuff does happen no matter what. However, it seems like more this year than any other, we're seeing more and more from Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll kind of dividing themselves from this team. From Russell Wilson almost wants to push away from Pete Carroll, doesn't want him to be involved. And for Pete Carroll this year, basically pointing the finger right at Russell Wilson and saying he needs to play better. He needs to do better. Listen, Russell Wilson's been your whole damn offense pretty much. He's the one that's making the plays out there. Yes, he struggled a little bit here and there this season, but no quarterback is perfect, first of all. And second of all, this team, maybe Russell Wilson sees something, that this team is heading towards rebuild mode. We've talked about the defense and how it's no longer the Legion of Boom anymore. It's the Legion of Doom. They're just not getting anything done defensively. They're not getting the right players put in position. They have talent, not saying anything about that, but they just don't. They're not finding those cream of the crop type players like they once did to kind of rebuild that defense, and it's getting older. Bobby Wagner, he redid a deal, a contract extension, but he's getting longer in the tooth. So how much longer are you going to plan on holding on to him? And then offensively, yes, you could say, but Russell Wilson's got, DK, and he's got, Taylor Lockett, and what's not to love about it? Well, the offensive line isn't 100%, so he's not seeing enough improvement, I feel like, from the organization. And in turn, he's like, you know what? I don't want to sit here until it finally gets rebuilt to where we can push for another Super Bowl. Maybe he's like, I want to change. I want to entertain it at least. See what's out there. Maybe I can get into a better situation with a team that's already ready to push for the playoffs, to push for that Super Bowl. And all they need is a quarterback. Could happen. So, I think that there is something to this scenario, this situation, that something's going to happen either way by the time we get into training camp next season.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If they're going to do it, they better act fast for this because, again, after the Super Bowl, that offseason is going to come quick, and then, draft day, it just, creeps right around. One
thing after another.
There it goes. It happens.
Absolutely.
One thing that is one thing that's constant right now is the weather is getting colder, Joe.
It is.
It's getting freezing out there.
I know.
Up here in upstate New York. If you guys don't know, we're from upstate New York.
Single digits.
Wow. Absolutely. So why don't you tell everybody out there, all our know-it-alls, about our friends at Johnstone Supply?
I'll tell you right now. It is getting frigid this winter. We've had single-digit weather. We've had minus weather. It's brutally
Wind
cold.
Chill sucks.
You're telling me. My hands were numb after 5 minutes of being outside. But, yeah, listen, it's more important than ever to make sure your furnace or your boiler is ready to handle the extra workload for this coming winter. Listen, Johnstone Supply in Troy, New York, they're the people to go to. They're ready to help you. The crew at Johnstone Supply will give you the advice that you need. To figure out any kind of solution for you. So Johnstone Supply in Troy has the new high-efficient, get this, they got the new high-efficient Goodman furnace and Naveen boiler. Check that out, Naveen boiler. So some cool names that they come up with these things. But in the end, listen, you can stop by them if you're locally in the capital region, Albany, New York area. 6th Avenue in Troy, New York. You can stop in there. You can give them a call at 518-272-5922. That's 518-272-5922. Book an appointment, get some info, get some help. Do us a favor when you do, though. Hit that number 2 button on your phone for the counter guys and tell Tom, Kevin, James, or Rob that you heard it here from Football on the No Show.
Yeah, that's right.
Listen, and it's not just upstate. They have a location in Florida, too, so a couple of our Florida boys, Paul and
Mike Tackett.
Mike Tackett, yeah, definitely. Listen, they can help you guys out with your air conditioning needs or heating needs, anything.
Absolutely. And then also, it's shout out to our other sponsor here. It's Mohawk Honda. And so it's a new year. we got new goals. That's right. Start your new year right behind the wheel of a new or pre-owned vehicle that fits your budget and your New Year's resolutions right now. Stop in Mohawk Honda right now. They've got still the Kelly Blue Book instant cash offer right now where they will cut you a check. Whatever Kelly Blue Book says it is worth, they will cut you that check right there. If not, they will give you that amount as a trade-in to get that new ride that you want or that pre-owned vehicle that you want that fits you better to start your new year right. What makes it so much better with a new year? Why don't you get a new ride, new starts, new beginnings? And that's what new Mohawk Honda is because you know what? They're a new family to join you too as well. So if you get a car from Mohawk Honda, it's like getting a whole new family. They could call you up, hey, how's it been? How you like the new ride? You know, let us know when you need to do your oil changes or we'll let you know. You'll come on in, book an appointment. You can do it online. You can call us. You can do whatever you want with that. Check out Lewis, VIP Man Morales. He's there. Jake Hot Sauce Doyle. Cars with Kern. He's out there too as well. Or my personal favorite, Mark from Clifton Park, Ellis. That's right. They will get you the perfect deal to get the new vehicle you want. Mohawk Honda, where they go out of their way to please you. That's right. That's what they do. And that's what we try to do here at Mohawk Honda too. We try to please you guys. Anything you guys want, we'll try and help it out and do that for you guys. So now, Joe, the time has come. It's championship weekend. Here we go. Let's look at the picks competition. I'm within 2 now. If I only figured out those upsets last week, but you know what? It's the playoffs. You don't know what's going to happen. It is insane what just happened this past weekend. It's only going to get crazier here, Joe. But again, I might play for the tie here this week just to be safe. I don't know because, again, there's some of these teams I don't trust in this whole thing. But here it is, championship weekend, Joe. Let's talk about the 49ers and the Rams first. What do you got in this one, the 49ers and the Rams?
This is going to be an amazing game. I will say this. I think this is going to be another one of those classic, right down to the wire type of games. Listen, the Niners, they've been an extremely successful offense running the football, whether it be with their running backs or Debo Samuel himself. Debo's also pulled off some trickery himself, throwing a couple touchdowns this season at the receiver position. So they're going to come out with everything they have. You know what I mean? Just like the Rams are. Rams defense, listen, they loaded up just for this. Make this push to get to the Super Bowl and hopefully win it. They've traded for Von Miller. They have Aaron Donald already. They got Jalen Ramsey. They got all these pieces put in place. And they're right here. They're at the doorstep to get to the Super Bowl. Niners defense, healthy once again, being dominant right down the stretch. And the Rams offense, which early on had an amazing, kind of playmaking, blowout type of an explosion of plays, early in the season, struggled, and now it looks like they're back on track with Sean Mcvay and his play calling. So both teams, they're going to be ready. Can't wait to get at each other's throats in this one. And with LA Rams being home, I feel like I'm just going to go with the home team here. I like what the Rams have been doing. I like listen, with the addition of OBJ, along with Cooper Kupp and this offense, they got to limit the mistakes that Cam Akers in his fumbling issues from last week. Cannot allow to do that. And I don't think he's the best running back that they have. To be honest, I think Sony Michel is a little bit better than he is. And I feel like they need to give him the rock a lot more for this upcoming matchup. Niners, Rams. I think the Niners are going to be stingy on defense, and the Rams are going to have to figure out ways to put up points. This is going to be a hell of a game. I got the Rams.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be I think it's going to be a defensive game, too, as well. Like you said, too, though, Cam Akers, again, I think has been nice for him to be able to come back and play. But overall, Sony Michel, I think, is a more polished guy. Mm-hmm. You've seen that Cam Akers has kind of cost them in times during this playoffs. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of been bad on their end. That defensive line, though, Aaron Donald with Von Miller, they've finally gelled together. They're looking dangerous as a pass rush. I feel bad for Jimmy G here because he's going to get just hammered on. It's going to be tough for him. But you know what they're going to try and do? They should be running that game, or doing the running game. That's right. Get it involved. Eli Mitchell, he's been a nice spot for them, too, a nice pickup for them in the draft
Elijah,
that they grabbed.
He's been good.
That's right. And And then Debo Samuel, too, to be able to be that feature running back, but then also the wide receiver that he's been there. It's kind of funny how this year they decided to really focus in on that and make him a big focal point of this offense, even though he's been there for a few years now. I really like the situation that they put him in there, and it's really helped out this offense. But the deal is that they are going to be struggling at times. So this is going to be a tougher game for the 49ers. I think the Rams really have enough to get it done here. Matthew Stafford make it to the big game. But for my pick, I am going to go with the San Francisco 49ers because I need to make another game back here. The 49ers just beat them to get into the playoffs just on the last week of the season. So they've done it before, despite having the discrepancies that they've had. They've been playing hard. They are the hot team right now during the playoffs, and they hopefully now for them and for me, they can keep it going and get back to the Super Bowl where they made it before but just did not get enough to beat the Chiefs. They had the Chiefs down to the wire in that game. They had them and let them off the hook there. They're looking to get back there, and I'm going to go with the 49ers.
Excellent.
So yes.
Real quick too,
Sure.
I just want to mention before we move on from this game.
Yeah.
Trent Williams is not going to play.
Yeah, I was going to say that,
in this game,
factor.
which that's it. That's a really big factor. Their starting left tackle is not going to be able to play, so that is a key loss for this matchup. But doesn't mean that the Niners can't come on top on this. But this is going to be a great game.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know, and that's the thing I was thinking about too as well, is the fact that Trent Williams isn't going to be there. But again, if you're looking at my situation that I'm dealing with, again, I need to make a couple games back here too. So we'll see what happens with that. So next up, we've got the Chiefs and who are the Chiefs? The Bengals. The Chiefs and the Bengals. That's right. So the Bengals, again, they played early on in the season. Like you said before, they have been able to beat them before. The Bengals, again, I think are a really nice story. They've come like I think a year early.
Sure.
But really, Joe Mixon, again, becoming that running back that he was a few years ago, too, staying healthy. That was a major problem for this team, especially with their offensive line. They could never really stay healthy, too, as well. You're seeing these guys gel together, play well, and stay healthy. And Jamar Chase, again, that was the perfect thing that they needed in that draft. We talked about it with the draft. A lot of teams shouldn't go wide receiver early, but it made sense for this team because of the explosiveness that he had, the fact that he had time with Joe Burrow together. It only made sense to put these two guys together. They've gelled, and it have gotten them this far so far for this team. But the Chiefs, they're still that team for me that on the offensive side still is a bit sluggish. Yes, they have the opportunity to make the big plays. They do. When you have Travis Kelce underneath and still getting physical. The last game, he was super physical with those guys where he shoved some dudes out of the way to get open and make it happen.
Which is absolutely ridiculous.
Ooh, yeah.
He get away with
He did get away with a lot. I saw him do a lot. I was like, wow, man. But then, again, everybody tries to do the two deep safeties here for the Chiefs, but then if you're sticking to man-to-man, you're going to get burned by the cheetah, and that's what he did to them this past week. He had man-to-man, and you saw what happened when he got that catch. Once I saw it, he's like, he's gone. See you later, and goodbye. But also, even in zone, it gets kind of sketchy for them, too, because you got to know your spots. And if you are in the wrong spot, you're going to get burned as well, too, because Patrick Mahomes can put it where it needs to get done. This is going to be a great matchup, Joe. What do you got in this one?
Yeah, and that's the thing is a lot of teams, a lot of defenses have been utilizing that two deep safety zone look, and it works to limit those big chunk yards that Kansas City loves to go down the field with and rack up points and score quickly. And it's done a fairly good job. For anybody that's utilized it this year against the Chiefs, they've been pretty successful with it, and it does limit them where they have to just take what you give them. You give them 5 yards, they're going to take 5 yards. Kansas City's done a good job now of kind of changing it up. You know, I mean, they were struggling big time early on, and that's where they were struggling offensively and defensively, and nobody could really figure it out. And then it was right in front of their faces. It was like really simple. Andy Reid's like, hey, listen, let's just take what they give us. If it's 2 yards, we'll take 2 yards. If it's 5 yards, we'll take 5 yards. As long as we're getting positive yardage, we're going to go right down the football field and score. And since they've made that change, they haven't been able to be stopped. So Kansas City, the Bengals, I love this one because it's one of those matchups where you got David and Goliath. You know what I mean? You got the Bengals, who a lot of people feel like they don't even belong in this game. And then you have Kansas City, who just missed the cut on becoming the number 1 seed. So Chiefs are home. Very hard place to play. The Chiefs' offense, you know they are going to be ready for this challenge. Defensively, the most interesting part of last week is when Tyrann Mathieu left the game, could not come back due to a concussion, and how bad that Chiefs defense got exposed when he left the game. So it looks like he's going to be healthy. It looks like he's going to be back into the lineup. So he's going to be able to hold down and keep that communication going on the back end. Bengals, I think this is going to be a key thing for the Bengals in order for them to have a chance to win, is they got to be able to run the ball. If with Joe Mixon, if they're able to run the clock and keep Kansas City's offense off the field as long as possible, and at the end of every drive, they're able to put up a field goal. They're able to put up a touchdown. If they can put up some kind of points at the end of every drive to try to stay ahead of this high-flying offense, and then defensively, just try to just keep them working it down the field. Do not give any big chunk plays. I think that's going to be the formula that they need to end up getting an upset here in Kansas City. But for me personally, I've been rooting against the Chiefs all year, so I think I'm going to continue with that. I'm going to root for the Bengals. I got the Bengals in this one to upset Kansas City.
All right. Wow, man. See, again, this has been a tough one for me, too, because, again, I'm not sure where I'm going to go with my picks. I want to try and pull off an upset here. I was maybe going to try and play for the
I think Kansas City is going to win this game, but
we'll see, again, because even I'm looking at it right now, they're still saying they're uncertain if Tyrann Mathieu is going to be able to come back. You saw how that defense was, because they even got the protocol. They lost a few guys that went down for injuries in that game, and how bad it started to get for them.
Very physical game, too.
It was tough. Week. Yeah, but, I mean, they were able to go toe-to-toe with the Buffalo Bills, who, again, should have came out of there with that win.
Oh, my God.
But the Bengals, again, I like to root for the underdog. I like what they're doing. They're balanced all together in all phases of the game. If they do win, I'm ecstatic because I like to see different teams in the Super Bowl as well, and I would hope for the Chiefs not to go, too, as well. But I've been picking the Chiefs, too, to win on opposite sides here, too, because they do have that explosiveness. They do have a chance to win here. So, you know what? Yeah. I'm going to go on the opposite side with you here, and I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. And it's laying it all out here, Joe. I'm going to win or I'm going to lose this week, and we shall see for the Super Bowl here moving forward and what we got. And who's going to be drinking for this right here, the competition. There it is. So we'll see. It's all laid it out on the line. These are going to be great games. I'm excited about the teams that are in it. You've got your dogs. You've got your champions that have been there before. You've got, the 49ers, the Rams, the rivalries there too. You've got your young bloods and the Bengals. It all looks out to make a great recipe for a great weekend of football. Hopefully, again, this weekend we have back-to-back from last weekend to this weekend of great football. We're excited to see it, and I can't wait, Joe.
Definitely. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait. Great games. Listen, don't think that the Bengals don't have a shot in this one because I
think they absolutely do.
I know it was regular season when they actually, beat out the Kansas City Chiefs, but this is a team that has fought through a lot of adversity throughout the season, and they are battle-tested. I feel like this is going to be a really big game. I almost want to say that this is going to be one of those type of games where it's either going to be one of these teams are going to win big, or this is going to go right down to a field goal. And I know one thing. You don't want Harrison Butker to have the football last.
Yeah, right.
Because that dude doesn't miss.
Absolutely. I mean, again, right there when it's on the line.
Rams, Niners, you couldn't ask for a better matchup, I feel like, in the NFC. I feel like that's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's going to be exciting, guys. Tune in. Listen, if you're new to the show, if you've lasted this long, we're right down to the end of it. But listen, if you're new to the show, even if you're not and you're a big-time follower of ours, one of our know-it-alls, make sure you spread the word out for us. Will help us grow this channel a little bit here. Join the football family that we got going on here. All the know-it-alls out there. Listen, you can follow us on Facebook or YouTube. Just search us up Football on the Know Show. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to get a notification when we go live. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at FB_know. Make sure you're in the know. Become a know-it-all. Let's go.
Absolutely. That's it for us. We will see you guys next time. Enjoy the weekend.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.